Welcome back. Bill and Hillary Clinton are pushing to make public their testimony scheduled for later this month to the House Oversight Committee on what they know about Jeffrey Epstein. They've agreed to testify to the panel to avoid criminal contempt charges. The committee's Republican chairman, James Comer of Kentucky, is planning for their testimony to be held behind closed doors and is accusing the Clintons of trying to, quote, muddy the waters. Massachusetts Democratic Congressman Stephen Lynch joins me now. He sits on the Oversight Committee, but he's one of those 9 Democrats who actually voted to hold the former president in contempt of Congress if he didn't show up. Congressman Lynch, longtime member of the Oversight Committee. He was on the Oversight Committee when I was a young Washington Post reporter who covered that panel, so we go way back. It's good to see you, sir. Remind us why you felt compelled to join other Democrats in voting to hold the former president in contempt.
Sure. Well, there was a clear distinction, Ed, between what the documents revealed regarding Hillary Clinton versus former President Clinton. So there were very few documents, almost none, that actually mentioned Hillary Clinton. So the committee felt that there was no basis to bring her before the committee. Many of us voted against that with respect to Hillary. With respect to the former president, however, there were a number of flights that he was on. There were flight lists where he was on and his security team was on. There were a number of photographs and correspondence back and forth. He had a number of conversations with Ghislaine Maxwell. She claimed that Bill Clinton was her friend and not connected with Jeffrey Epstein. So there was enough there that we felt that President Clinton at least had an opportunity to observe both Epstein and especially Ghislaine Maxwell during a time when this network was ongoing. There were no allegations by the witnesses or by anyone at this point that there was any wrongdoing on the part of the former president. However, there was clear evidence that he had an opportunity to observe, and that's why the committee felt that it would be good to ask him some questions to see if he might be able to give us some more information that might lead to other people who were involved in this.
Should his testimony, though, be held out in public so that we can all see it?
I think his wishes should be granted. However, he would prefer that his testimony. We just want the information, right? That's from the committee. However we get it is, we're agnostic as far as that goes. The president feels that if he doesn't, from I heard his statements, and apparently he feels that if he does it in private, that the Republicans may use things out of context, and he would rather have a public hearing where people hear the whole testimony. So I can appreciate that. However, the bottom line for us is we just want any information that he might have that could be helpful to the investigation.
We've had some suggestions by fellow Democrats, including those who agree with you that he should testify. The part of the reason Republicans don't want him to testify publicly is because he's a pretty good partisan and might school these Republicans and publicly shame them for continuing to use congressional time and taxpayer treasure to focus on this when he would argue at least he is not someone who should be investigated, but in fact many other individuals and many other names that haven't even been revealed yet.
That's correct. That's fair enough. I mean, he has shown the ability to defend himself. And like I said, there's no evidence of wrongdoing on his part. And it would give him an opportunity to fight back against any unfair questions or any inappropriate suggestions.
In our remaining moments, you have been one of those lawmakers who's made it over to the Justice Department to start reviewing the Epstein documents that apparently are available to lawmakers on just 4 computers. What have you seen so far? What else are you hoping to see?
Well, we are able to review the unredacted documents and then review the redacted documents, so we can see where the FBI has deleted the names of co-conspirators and others who, they're clearly identified. There's a description as what their involvement was. So there's a lot there, and I'm stunned that there were no further prosecutions of some of these people, and that and that Todd Blanche says, there's nothing else to be seen here. I think there's a lot of investigation, and I've only had one day of reviewing the documents, but I've seen enough to believe that there are a lot of people who were part of this, and we need to speak to some of the witnesses who are available and get to the bottom of this. We promised these young women justice, and we should be diligent about our efforts to do so.
But when you go home to the greater Boston area, maybe you're in Quincy or Brockton or Hull. That's right, I looked at the map. How does Epstein come
All
up,
great
if at
areas,
all?
by the way.
Yes, I've got family there myself. But how does Epstein come up, if at all?
Well, we do hear, look, everybody's got daughters, so they can appreciate how a young teenager might be swept up in this. These are very powerful individuals. Epstein was a billionaire, and that whole crew and the network here. There's a personal connection for some families. There are even some of the women here in Congress who have had similar experiences of abuse, and so there's a lot of passion behind this investigation. So it's important that we follow this through.
All right, Congressman Stephen Lynch of the great Commonwealth of Massachusetts, thank you for spending a few minutes with us in between votes tonight. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you, Ed.
All righty, take care.